before they gave you a name, before you were praised for being quiet, before you were punished for being real. You knew, not in words, not in thoughts, but in something deeper. The body of your soul knew who you were. You weren't trying to become. You were already being, wild, curious, messy, radiant. But then they taught you how to edit your hunger, how to label your grief, how to manage your joy, how to dim your truth so no one had to adjust their eyes to your light. And you obeyed, because that's what the world rewards. The child who adjusts, the one who performs comfort at the cost of their own clarity. And you forgot. Not because you were weak, but because forgetting was how you survived. They called it growing up. You didn't know it was erasure. You let go of imaginary friends so you could hold real rejections. You stopped asking questions that made others uncomfortable. You learned how to speak without saying anything true. They said that's maturity. You called it strength, but your body called it something else. Grief. The grief of self-abandonment done so beautifully it looked like success. You smiled on cue. You built relationships on the parts of you that were palatable. And no one noticed the funeral happening quietly inside you. Because the world doesn't see pain that's performed with grace. But you knew. You always knew. There was a version of you still sitting in the dark, waiting for you to remember. It doesn't come as a revelation. It doesn't announce itself. Healing arrives like a misfired memory, like a sudden ache, like a name you hear in your dream and can't place the next morning. It's soft, but persistent, like the whisper of a forgotten room in a house you've lived in your whole life. You don't chase it. You sit with it. You make space for the things that never stopped hurting just because you stopped mentioning them. You return to the parts of yourself that didn't ask to be exiled, the one who cried too easily, the one who asked why too often, the one who didn't care about being liked because they knew who they were. Healing isn't about adding, it's about subtracting what never belonged to you. You were told love requires sacrifice. Joy is suspicious, rest must be earned, boundaries are cold, anger is bad, silence means agreement, and you built your life around these commandments. But now you see the cracks, not all at once, but in the moments you wake up and feel tired from carrying identities that no longer protect you. You were never the mask, you were never the silence, you were never the version of you they praised as long as you stayed small. Healing is not changing. It's standing up in your own bones and saying, this is who I was before the world told me not to be. Sometimes healing arrives in the shape of loss. People begin to fade, roles stop fitting, rooms go silent. You think you're falling apart, but you're falling inward, into the marrow of your memory, into the cave of your own knowing. You remember the feeling of no before you had the words to say it. You remember the moment your truth was met with silence, and you interpreted it as shame. You remember the first time you smiled to stay safe, not because you were happy. And in that remembering, a new grief is born, not for what happened, but for what you had to forget just to keep going. And yet, in that grief, the remembering becomes holy. You are no longer running, you are returning. You don't have to create yourself. You were already created. You don't have to become someone. You already are. You don't have to seek your voice. It's been whispering beneath the noise since the first silence taught you to swallow it. The world taught you to be impressive, but your soul wants to be true. The world rewarded consistency, but your soul honors contradiction. The world told you that clarity must be linear, but your soul knows the map is never the territory. You are not a performance. You are not a pattern. You are not what happened to you. You are what you chose to carry when no one helped you lift it. And now, you're allowed to put it down. There is nothing passive about remembering who you are. It is fire. It is rage. It is the refusal to be digested by systems that only love you if you bleed quietly. You will lose people. You will shed stories. You will dismantle myths that fed your silence. But what you gain is yours. A voice that doesn't tremble. a yes that comes from soul, a no that doesn't require permission, a grief that doesn't destroy, but rebuilds. You will love again, but not to be rescued, not to be filled. You will love from fullness, because you've remembered what you were before they convinced you were too much. And that remembering, it's violent, but it's holy. This isn't your first remembering. It won't be your last. There will be days you forget again. That's okay. The remembering is not a one-time event. It's a lifelong return, a spiral, a rhythm, a call from the oldest part of you that never stopped singing. You knew the way home before you had the words, and now you walk it. Not because someone told you how, but because you removed everything that kept you from hearing what you already knew. You don't need to become the light. You were the light. You just needed to remember where you buried it. And now you've begun to dig, not to perform, but to return. You are not the wound. You are the witness. You are not the trauma. You are the return. You are not the pain. You are the one who stayed when everyone else asked you to hide it. The sanctuary isn't out there. It's here, inside you, waiting. Not for healing to be complete, but for remembering to begin. You don't need permission. You don't need to explain. You don't need to wait for the world to approve of your softness. You are the keeper of your own resurrection. You are the prayer you thought no one heard. And now, you have heard yourself. And in that hearing, you have remembered.